Morning, everyone. It's your spiritual big brother. I've got another open notebook here that I'd like to share with you guys. So for anybody that's just joining us for the first time, my open notebooks are all about me just sharing raw thoughts, and they're unedited. They haven't been polished. I didn't go back over these twice. I didn't put them through ChatGPT or anything like that. These are strictly just the thoughts that have come through me, and ones that kind of captured my attention, made me think about and ponder for a little while. And these are typically thoughts that have been evolved and developed over time. Like these are ones that typically come back to me, or sometimes they're just completely brand new thoughts, something like that. But I think that they have a lot of value personally, and I think that these are a lot of things that we all care about. So that's kind of why I bring these up. And I'm always going to kind of try to tie it into spirituality in some way. I've been doing that for over 30 years, where I've looked at a lot of different sources and sacred texts, and I'm just trying to find the lessons in many different ways and apply them in the here and now, in the present day, a way that we can all appreciate it, I guess, and find value in it, and find the lessons that have been kind of buried in metaphors, parables, and just ancient scripture from different times that we weren't there. And a lot of those lessons are timeless, and I'm just trying to kind of tie them back to experiences that I am having today in the current times. So, and I think that this works well. So anyways, let's get on with it. I'm going to jump right into it. So the whole way that I approach this is I read what I wrote, I just as it is, and then if I feel the need to, I'll expand on it. If I don't feel like I did a good job capturing it, or maybe it needs a little expansion or context or something like that, then I'll go into that. Okay, so let's do it. Knowing how and when to ask for help, and doing it with heart and honesty. I found most people want to help others if it's for the right reasons. Most people don't know how to ask for help, or feel like no one would help even if they did. But I found that to be not true. I think that the ego's way of running from the fear of asking or being rejected, I've always found people willing to help or pointing me in the right direction if they weren't able to. Most people were all too happy to, though. And those that didn't help didn't judge me either. And I'm not talking during times of real comfort. I mean, even in my lowest times, when I approach them with honesty. So, I think that speaks for itself here, but I'd like to elaborate on that anyways and kind of expand a little bit. I have found in my life that anytime that I've asked for help, I have received it in one way or another. Okay? Maybe I didn't get it exactly the way I hoped, or maybe I was expecting my answer to come a certain way when I would ask others for help, or reach out, or reach beyond my own comfort zones of where I've relied on or leaned on for support. But when I needed it, when I was broke, when I didn't know which direction to go, when I lacked resources, when I lacked a good network of people, I have always found that people were willing to help. And even when they didn't have the answers, they didn't judge me. They didn't give me a hard time. Like, I was always scared to even ask because I was scared of what people would think of me. And I think that that's kind of like that fear, that ego. It kind of creates this invisible boundary where you don't even know how to ask, or you're too intimidated to ask, or you're too anxious, or something. You get your feelings in the way of being able to just ask. And it's like a lot of other things in life. When you do it the first time, it's really scary. It's really hard. But once you break that tension, once you do it, it gets easier and easier after every time, and you actually get good at doing it. You've probably heard that with anything in life. Anything that you're trying to do professionally. The first time that you're ever swinging a bat or riding a bike, right? It's hard. You fall a few times. It's uncomfortable. But that's built into everything in life. If you can just get past that for anything that you're going to do in your life, anything that's like blocking you or making you scared, there's probably something to be had there. There's a lesson to be had. There's a reward to be done. There's an ability to get good at. There's a talent you could be shaping. You know, maybe it's just your voice too, right? Learning how to navigate conversations better. Learning how to express yourself better. Learning how to, just learning how to gesture better. Learning how to do all that stuff. Learning how to be more confident, right? And I'm just talking about one craft. I'm talking about your speech craft. But we could apply that to anything. You can apply that to physical abilities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You get what I'm saying. Don't be scared to ask for help. I have found that one of the hardest things to do is to learn how to ask for help. Not only in building up the confidence to do it towards just about anybody that's out there, but also how to do it. I think we're too scared to, and we don't learn how to, but you will learn. Make mistakes. People appreciate you just trying. They know how hard it is too. They've been you before. So they understand where you're coming from. So don't let fear, anxiety, stress, or the lack of ability stop you from doing it. Those are all reasons to do it. If you really think about it, you know, this is like practice for you. So don't be scared. Ask for help. I have always found that even if they're not able to directly help you, they will point you in the right direction. They will say, hey, I have a friend or a family member that does just what you're doing. Here's their number. Tell them you know me. Yeah, man, I just had a good thought there too. Yeah, lost it. Darn it. That's okay. Maybe if it comes back to me. But okay, let's move on from that. I think you hear what I'm saying here. Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's what I'm saying. And, don't be afraid to make some mistakes out here. It's okay. You're probably not going to be punished unless, you run into just the wrong guy. But then there's a lesson there too, right? Discernment. Learning who to ask and who not. Oh, I remember what I was wanting to say. I'm glad I thought about this. I have found that some of my best help has come from the people that I wasn't expecting it to come from. People that I labeled. People that were friends of mine for so long and I thought I knew everything about them. People that didn't look like they knew anything. You know what I'm talking about. Just people that you just look at them and you're like, man, you can't possibly be able to help me. And there's a lesson there too. You know what I mean? Do not judge people. Do not label people. In fact, the people that can probably help you the most are the people that you're probably labeling and judging. I found that to be true. I'm guilty of that. And I am staunch and adamant on not labeling people, on judging people. But like we've heard before so many times, the first 5-10 seconds, you've already made judgments about another person. It's true. It's human nature. So, that's part of what is built into us. So you need to somehow override that. Like if we were a computer program, you need to find a way to be like, okay, I've judged this person, but don't let that stop me from continuing to judge them. Let me now learn about them. Let me see if they have anything to offer. You see what I mean? You don't get blocked on that. Just keep moving through it. Okay. You know what I mean? We've hammered this. All right. Let's move on. All right. Boy, I've been talking a lot about the desert seasons and the suffering that's involved on a spiritual path, or if you're a human being, hey, plenty of suffering out here, plenty of pain, but there's also plenty of beauty. There's also plenty of good feelings and happiness too. That's kind of a part of the dynamics. It's all just one big mixing pot of paradoxes out here. So get used to the paradoxes, or you're gonna end up picking a side. And, it's being on any side of an extremist, being too good or too bad, or, being, I don't even know, you decide for yourself. But there's always a good in between for everything. And I feel like it's okay to kind of swing back and forth for a while until you find that middle. But that's what I'm here for. I'm actually really trying to help you guys find that middle ground. It's taken me a long time on a lot of these concepts that I deal with on here. But anyways, let's move on, right? In your desert seasons, or a single season. You will be tested with fear, suffering, challenges, and breaking bad habits and unlearning limiting beliefs. The more you learn and grow, the harder it will continue to level up in a spiral. It's relative too. You get challenges and tests that match your emotional and spiritual and personal bandwidths or capacities. You will never be challenged with something that you can't handle or that you aren't strong enough to handle. I need everyone to realize you can quit anytime and even try again in another season. But for the few that want the rewards and the becoming and what it offers you, it will break you a few times and show you that you're stronger than you think and more capable of learning the lessons you need to learn. It will teach you how to set boundaries, how to become wiser in your decision making and discern, how to surrender, how to give up control, how to endure hardship, how to walk in faith with the unknowing and trusting God and His plan, if you believe in that. If not, I suggest get yourself working in that direction. Finding peace and patience. And that's just scratching the surface. What all of this is ultimately doing is refining you and helping you hold everything you want and desire without it controlling you. It's your own becoming into your truest and highest self. It's becoming what you always wanted to become. And there's a lot you may not have realized in work and learning that you'll figure out as you go along this path. You can always come back to, but you'll be starting over most of the time. And you'll still be challenged with the same kinds of challenges and obstacles, but they will transform into different experiences and challenges you in new ways. It's hard, but the price of not walking it is higher. That means a life of resonating lower and being someone that gave up on their own potential. And that's a hefty regret that doesn't go away for those that carry passion and purpose and are driven. And if I'm being completely honest, I think that's everybody in the world. I don't think anybody's excluded from that. I just think a lot of people fail on this path, give up too soon, quit trying, don't integrate their plan into the reality of their lives, and set time aside, create energy boundaries. There's so much involved here, and you can learn a lot of this in spirituality, I have found. I have found that you can find this type of information in almost any philosophy or path, or like, let's say you're more into motivation and inspiration because you just so happen to be a business guy or something like that. You've listened to Jim Rohn, Darren Hardy, Earl Nightingale, those types of guys. And so they use this little bit different of language, but they talk about the same stuff, right? I'm just saying it in a different way that's a little bit more spiritually and emotionally fueled, whereas those guys are talking about it strictly on an emotional or a motivational or inspirational basis. So their words are a little bit different, but it carries a lot of the same message and a lot of the same ideas. So what I'm getting at is, I think we all at some point seek to be the best version of ourselves. At some point. I mean, some of us, maybe we do it really early in life and we just kind of give up, we get tired, or we run into some brick walls, or we don't know how to keep going. We kind of just give up, right? So what I'm suggesting is, don't give up. Just find ways around it. It keeps getting harder. There's no way around that. Anything you're going to do in this life that matters, that creates meaning and fulfillment, there's going to be a scaling effect. It's going to be real easy when you first start out. That's just the nature of the beast. It will be easy. Doesn't matter what you're doing. If you decide to pursue yourself as an athlete, as a business person, as a leader, as a spiritual, you want to do spiritual growth, or you want to follow spirituality, or you want to do anything else, you want to be a medical professional. It really doesn't matter what line of work you kind of fall into. It's going to challenge you consistently, especially if you want to do something big, okay? If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a thought leader, if you want to do anything like that. So I understand that people on my channel, at least most people that are probably still watching this, that probably sounds a lot like you. Maybe you're an overachiever. Maybe you genuinely care about other people, genuinely heartfelt, and the world has really tested you. You've lost some trust in the world maybe a little bit, or you're a little bit scared to do certain things, or fear has held you back in certain areas that maybe you're not too proud to talk about. And that's okay, because I've been there. I've struggled with all of this stuff. I've tried so many different things. So I hear you. And that's why I've seen this spiraling effect. And I know that they talk about it. You know what I mean? I'm simply saying that I have experienced it. So I'm adding more credibility to what a lot of spiritualists say when they say that that's that spiraling testing effect. Like, just take like your boundaries, for instance, right? That's one thing that you can constantly be tested on and expect. And you'll get suffering out of it unless you learn the lessons, unless you can pull your emotionalness out of that and see a situation for what it is, not what your ego and emotions are placing on it, but for what it really is at its core. Reflection helps with that. I'm going on and on and on. I'm rambling here. But you hear what I'm saying. You're going to keep getting challenged. And if you're talking about boundaries, that's to keep your energy, your presence, your love fully intact, your emotions centered and you centered. And, it's a constant test that's going to keep challenging you, and it's going to get harder and harder. Every time you do the easy stuff, there will be harder ones that are there. And I think for the most part, they've always been there, but you've just avoided them for too long. And the more you keep scaling and learning that, the easier it is to identify the invisible controls in your life, like boundaries that need to be set, that are stealing your energy. And you kind of find that as you kind of keep going up. Some of them that you maybe wanted to avoid, or you're like, nah, I can't do this. Like, these are my friends. These are, or this is my family. These are the people that are supposed to love me. And instead they're stealing my energy. And I kind of know that, but here I am still dealing with that. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. You can avoid it for so long, but the more you kind of keep spiraling up, eventually you're going to run back into that. It's always better to trust your gut and do what you have to do. And sometimes it takes a really long time. I mean, I'm thinking about this from maybe some people that have parents that maybe should have been more loving and supportive, but they weren't. So, how can you just run away from that, right? You don't have the resources. You've got to endure that for years and years, and that really sucks. So, I'm not saying that it's easy in every situation, but I am saying that, stick to it. Find ways to do it, work around it, become flexible, be very realistic and relative to your own circumstances for what your reality looks like, not mine, right? You can't compare to other people's realities. You can't wish for a different reality. Unfortunately, this is what we all get. And that's why I'm sharing this message, because I'm trying to help those that really need it most. Because I have seen that in the world, and I had for a long time taken it for granted, and not really seeing the blessings that I had or the support that I had, and seeing that the rest of the world didn't have that or lacked it. And that just turned me right on, man. That made me want to run to help other people. Like, oh my God, you're telling me these people didn't have a great family. They didn't have a great support system. When you're stuck in your own reality for so long, and you're just kind of only talking to a few people or whatever. I mean, one of the best jobs I ever had was working at Keystone Job Corps. It showed me disadvantaged youth. It showed me what the world really looked like. And I burned out in that place, but I came back even harder to really help people. They just needed people, somebody that believed in them. And I had gotten that from my family and my support. And so I give that back to you guys and back to the whole world. Because when I realized how underserved a lot of people were, or how hard it is, and you hear these stories, right? But we don't know how media is really, they give you just this bit of it, right? So anything could be taken out of context. Anything could be fueled by propaganda or agendas or motives. Like, you don't really know what you're getting on media. So, for a guy like me, I get numbed out by it. I tune out from it. I'll just see kind of what's going on. But I don't get too invested in it like I used to anymore. And Yeah, that's the best I got on that. But what I'm saying is, it's easy to sometimes not realize the blessings that you do have. And it can be challenging sometimes. And I had my reality checks on what the world really looks like quite a few times, but it helped develop me, my voice, and what I'm able to give back and how I'm able to help people and share messages like this. So keep that in mind. I get it for the people that are really struggling or who didn't have it. I understand how that could make a person bitter and really hold you back. So I'm trying to speak to everybody on both sides, whether or not you had it good or you didn't have it good. I'm trying to help everybody as best as I can. Okay, let's move on. Sorry, I may have over-talked on that a little bit too much. Okay, so that being said, why don't we take just a quick a breather here, since I need the breather as much as probably you guys do. Let me take a little swig of my coffee here, and we'll see where we're at. Okay. Good people like to make other people happy, even when it costs them. Sometimes the stakes are low, but think of how those decisions matter when the stakes are high and it impacts your own future. I've been this person, and I've had to learn how to not be this person because I was making promises that were burdening my own future to help someone else's future. Take, for instance, a co-ownership of a business, and someone needs to work while another has more freedom and the ability to work on other things. Most people will just be okay with it, not really realizing how that can hinder themselves and the obligations and responsibilities that come with it. If you have integrity, and you're honest like me, this matters a lot. And it's something you should think about before just agreeing to someone else's demands. That's why in business, you don't want to make decisions that are emotional, or while you are emotional, because you're more inclined to accept, even when it burdens you and your future. This isn't a business channel, but hell, you may learn some business skills here too that apply to life and spirituality. So let's talk about that for a little bit. This thought kind of came to me from the way that I've been just accepting things. Somebody asks me to do something or needs me to step up, or, creates an obligation for me where I need to be responsible and keep doing it, but maybe it's not feeding me enough, right? And I don't mean literally, well, maybe I do. I mean literally and figuratively, right? Maybe it's not bringing in enough financial stability for me to feed myself, but maybe it's not feeding my soul either, or my passion, or whatever it is that I'm looking for. So you need to I've caught myself in obligations that have lasted for years, right? Even something like a career, right? Imagine getting yourself into a career and you've just wasted 7, 8, 9 years and you haven't moved up much, or you haven't really seen the return on the energy you've put out and the work that you've put in, right? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I think we do it really good for a while, but eventually we kind of just, I don't know, you get tired and you're exhausted and you're just like, if this is what it takes for me to, do this with somebody else, then sure, let's do it. You know what I mean? But yet it robs you, or you've been cheated, or something like that. So that's kind of what I'm saying here. Don't be too much of a people pleaser, okay? Think about yourself first, okay? I know that inherently just the thought of that sounds selfish, but it's important. I mean, you got to be a little selfish. I'm not saying be fully selfish. I think, the people who are like me and the people that are probably on this channel, I'm certain that you have good intentions and you have a good heart. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. I know that. That is the signal I am sending out into the world. That is the people that are drawn here. So I'm just trying to help you guys see the reality of both sides. You need to see the reality of both sides. I didn't see it for very long. I spent a lot more energy, time doing the things that weren't really bringing energy into my life, bringing love. I mean, ultimately, and maybe now's a good time to say this, and I think it is. The choices that you make create the future for you. So if you take a job that's not filling you up with energy, it's not, creating value in your life in some way, or you're not satisfied with the mission or the purpose that maybe even your company, like let's say your mission statement for the company, they usually make that pretty fluffy too. But when you start working a job, you'll know if that mission statement was bogus or if that's, legitimate. Your company actually cares about you, cares about the service that they're creating, cares about how they're treating their customers. You're going to find that out quickly. Don't get too stuck on the literature that you read that was all fluffy, like, oh, we help the world and we serve clients and we're the best thing ever and everybody's so happy with us. Come on, if you get sold on that and you stand behind that when it's not really that, that's on you, all right? You got to be wiser than that. But what I'm trying to say is you need to continually be on guard and make decisions for yourself that are going to impact you as you keep moving forward. I'm not saying spend every moment of your time dissecting everything and thinking ahead and always planning and always ready. What I'm saying is there are going to be big decisions that come that you need to really think about. And even if you make the wrong decision, you can always fix that. You can always find another job. You can always try another place. I know that gets like a rat race and it gets tedious and you get tired of doing that. But eventually, you're going to land on the right one, or you're going to get that big promotion, or maybe you're going to start that small business or start it as a hobby and then build it into something. Do you know what I mean? You got to keep taking some risks out here, but get wiser and wiser with the way that you take the risks and the way that you understand it. Because, if you get stuck in a job for 10 plus years and it's not serving you or your soul or your passion or, your love in this world, or you're not serving people in this world the best way that you can do it, well, it's time to make some hard decisions and you've lost time. I'm sure that there's always good that you can have that. It's not just lost time, or it's not wasted. You're building yourself, you're learning how to communicate with people, you were learning how to navigate systems, you were learning what job culture looks like. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's always benefits to get out of wherever you're at. Even if you've spent way more time than you probably should be, you can still make good on it. But keep that in mind. You got to be ready for that. Some of this stuff is going to steal your time, your energy, your identity, who you are, your future. So all I'm saying is, when it comes to this bigger stuff, and I think people naturally do it, but maybe it's good to hear it from a different perspective too, and to remind you that it's up to you to create the future that you want. It's up to you to make your schedule into a schedule that makes you happy, that rewards you instead of steals from you. And that's up to you. Nobody can do that for you. I know we like to blame other things. We like to blame systems. We like to blame the government. We like to blame politics. We like to blame capitalism. We like to blame who knows what else. You hear what I'm saying? We like to blame the laws. We like to blame the taxes. We like to blame the mailman. We like to blame our neighbors. Do you know what I'm saying? There's nobody to blame for your life at some point, okay? You need to make the decisions that are going to make you happy. And you do that by experiencing the world. Just keep a record of what makes you happy. Don't let it be a fleeting happiness. Try to hang on to that a little bit. And that's the best thing I can say there. Build your life the way you want to build your life. Don't get stuck in obligations. Don't get stuck into contracts. Don't get stuck in all that stuff. I mean, yes, there are some contracts to be signed and, you need to do certain stuff. These NDAs and such like that. Some of it's necessary. Just be careful you're not, overextending yourself too much in your own energy and your own time. That's all I'm saying. Be wise about that. Okay, let's move on. Money shouldn't be the goal. Helping and serving others should be the goal. And money will be a byproduct of that. This is one lesson that, as a entrepreneur, as a creator, as a business guy / spiritual guy, I know I'm like a paradox of people. I understand that. For people that are listening to this, I'm somewhere in between all of that. And that's why I think that I was kind of born for giving these types of messages. The paradoxes between these struggles are two, at first glance, opposing forces. But I don't really believe that. I just think people just fall on one side. And I can't fall on one side. But with me saying that, money shouldn't be the goal. Okay? And when it isn't the goal, it stops you from chasing after it, and it actually attracts it to you. When you chase after something, you'll never catch up to it when it comes to the stuff that you don't really have control over, right? It means you're trying to take control of it. When you're chasing after something, it means you're trying to force it to come towards you. And it simply doesn't work that way. I can't explain it exactly. I know that there's manifestations, or that's one way to think about it. There's, a positive mindset. That's another way to think about it. It's removing invisible controls. There's so many different ways that it's been talked about. But the number one thing that I have found to be true is that when it comes to the things that you really care about, when you start only thinking about the money and the finish line, it pollutes the work. It dilutes your signal, dilutes your voice. It makes you chasing after something materialistic. Okay? And money, it's physical. It's like, it's like everything talks about in spirituality that you've heard about with materialism. Now, I have also defended this point too. I think to an extent, it's okay to be materialistic, right? To an extent. Okay, I'm not saying an extreme materialist. I'm not saying be greedy. I'm not saying hoard. What I'm saying is you can appreciate fine stuff. You can appreciate artwork in jewelry and gemstones and gold coins because they look nice, right? And there's some value in that. You can appreciate the way that a gemstone was cut perfectly and it looks beautiful, and that's something that maybe nature could never replicate, and that's cool too. But also, nature has its own rare, raw beauty, untamed beauty that can't be replicated by us. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you can appreciate both at the same time. You don't have to feel like if you're on one side, you need to be against the other side. You could be somewhere in between too. Remember that. So that's what I'm trying to say about materialism. Don't get that the wrong way. I'm not saying be an extremist on either side. Okay? So that being said, what I'm really getting at here is money should be a byproduct of whatever passion is that you have, whatever you're driven to do, whatever you're trying to do out here. Let money be a byproduct. I know that that's really hard to do. Believe me when I say that. I have been struggling with that. I knew that. Intellectually, I knew just what I said there 15 years ago. And I'm still trying to figure out how to share my message, how to make it clean, not chasing after the money. I still need to remind myself of that every day, that it's more about the message. It's more about me showing up here, being here, feeling this, really spreading the right message for people, knowing the truths here, and trying to express it the best I can. And I am. This is one that I still need to remind myself of. Not as frequently as I used to, right? It took me a long time to really realize that this is a serious lesson. And, for the type of work that I want to do, I want this to be my life's work. I want this to help people genuinely without, giving you guys stuff that really got me stuck or caught up in my own future, my own success, my own passions, my own creation. And this will serve a lot of different people because I'm not from one cut. I'm not from one cloth. I am from many cloths. I've tried many things passionately. I mean, when I go all in on something, I go all in. I mean, I will chase it out until I can't do it anymore, until I am crawling. And I've done that with a lot of different things. I've done that with pursuing sports, at the highest level I could possibly go. I've done it with starting small businesses, like a 3D printing one. And I also did one with my brother too. And I also started multiple channels too of social media and YouTube too. And ones that I eventually I pushed too hard, tried to get there too fast. And I burned out and I lost my passion. And it was largely because of this. And even though I would tell myself, with my ego or intellectually, I would tell myself, it's not about the money. Eventually, the more you keep pursuing that and keep creating, you kind of get tired of like the long creation process, because it's long when you want to really do something that matters. You're playing the long game. And so if you're here, you're probably one of the guys that are like me. Understand, you're the turtle in the race. You're not the hare. If you want to be the hare, That means you're probably going to sell out, you're probably going to be fake, and you're going to dilute your message, and it's not going to make you happy. It will steal your soul. I promise you that. That is why they call it selling out, and that's largely why you see a lot of people that are good on camera, but then you see them in real life or whatever, and they're miserable, they're not good people, and it's because their souls are being, stolen. So play the long game. If you're here, I bet you're probably playing the long game, or you're interested in playing the long game, and you just need somebody else to kind of hold your hand a little bit and help you through some of this hard stuff that I had to struggle with. So this is a big one. You're going to have to keep reminding yourself some of these. These are the ones that I'm bringing here. It's for a good reason. It's because these are things that I have constantly been struggling with. And so if I bring them here, it's to help you realize, well, for one, they're really hard and it's hard to get through. But I'm also kind of giving you the refined message after all these years of doing it and the truth as far as I've found it. And these could evolve too. That's kind of the part of a living work. I'm sharing the thoughts as they are right now, but they're still raw and they still could use a little bit of work. But they're the best I've had over 3 decades. So keep that in mind. These are getting to that point where if you've ever seen an exponential curve or what do they call that, to a limitless, on the curve where it just keeps getting closer and closer to zero, closer and closer and closer. This is 3 decades of work. So I am getting very close to my message being about as truthful and pure as it can be. So you guys are a part of this. So feel free to make comments too. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit off track here, but this is good stuff. So I wanna give it to you the best I can. That's what I'm here, and I'm trying to keep refining and a master of my craft. So, all right. As a spiritualist, you don't get judged for your bad deeds. You get judged from not learning from them and healing. I like this one. I think that this one's a little bit deeper, so it's, some people might not follow this right away. I'm when I put this down, I know that I was thinking about a specific situation or something like that. So this kind of came to me from somebody that I know was juggling juggling with some hard stuff with regards to spirituality, that I could tell they were kind of trapped in this place where they felt like they were being judged by their actions, by their experience. And I think I've talked about this in more than one way, but I'm just saying it in a more grounded way. So what I'm really getting at is, and you've heard this before, it's okay to make mistakes, but it's not okay to not learn from them. It's not okay to not move forward on them. It's not okay to keep making those same mistakes. In this world, we're human beings. Part of what makes us human is the fact that we are susceptible to error. We're like computers that get to learn in real time and figure things out. So you will make mistakes. Try to minimize your mistakes. Try to be wise and try to learn from them and heal from them too. Your traumas, the discomforts that you've had. You've been humiliated, embarrassed. I've talked about, you've heard this language before. We've all been there, okay? Sometimes on a grand scale, sometimes just on a small scale. Sometimes, we'll never let that happen to ourselves again. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. So you don't get judged for those bad deeds, okay? Or you do get judged. You might even judge yourself, right? We can be our harshest critic. But remember that you're supposed to make mistakes out here, but you should learn from them. That's the big picture. And try not to hurt anybody in the process. But inevitably, in order to learn, sometimes you do need that. You can read all the books in the world you want, but out here, you want to experience the world. That's a part of living. That's a part of being a human. That's a part of what makes us all who we are and gives us some sense of childhood wonder and awe out here, is learning. And so never stop being a learner, a lifelong learner. Okay, let's move on. Boy, I need to move a little bit faster here. Or maybe I don't. Maybe this is okay. You guys let me know. This is one of the ones that I've really enjoyed actually expanding on. But, it's more about you guys. Are you guys, if you guys are still here, leave me a comment. So I know that, I have you guys' attention for this long and you guys appreciate this work. I'm just doing this blind right now. I don't have a very big audience right now. And, I'm just doing this because I know there's a lot of other people like me out there that genuinely want to help the world. And we get so lost in all this stuff that we grow cold. We get numb. And instead of keep doing what we want to do, we end up just fitting into the mold and just trying to just keep up with life, and we never keep up enough. So I'm just here to kind of just help relight some flames out there. Yeah, so leave a comment if you'd like. Tell me about anything. Tell me about something you learned here. Tell me about something you think might be good for this channel. Maybe something you want me to cover. Tell me something else, or maybe you need me to expand on something. Okay, I'm going to try to move a little bit faster just because I got so much I want to cover. This is definitely going to go into another open notebook for sure. But okay, using God as a container to put all your love into so that it can spill over into your life, rather than putting them into fleeting desires or relationships that can't hold the love you seek. While this is one use for God and a reason to find him, God is everything else too that you've ever heard. Okay, let me expand on this one. I love this one. And this is just one way that I feel like you can use God. I don't think that that's a good word. You don't use God. But I want you to understand that one way that I utilize God that helps me is for him to give me a place that I can put my love into. Okay? And let me expand on that a little bit. Why does that make sense? How can that help you? What's the point of me even saying this at all? If you put love into other things that can change, they can be emotional, they can be irrational sometimes, like another human being, for instance. And I'm not suggesting that you don't send your love to other people, but there should be boundaries on that. And what I'm really saying here is God is its own thing that you kind of create in your own mind of what you want God to be. And you can certainly take pieces from different books, sacred texts, from religions, from spirituality, from modern mainstream stuff, to its own constituents of more contemporary or more off the beaten trail types of things. You get to kind of collect these things as you go, create your own beliefs, and you get to see God the way that you want to see God. Okay? That's up to you to do. You create the way you want your God to be for you. So what I'm saying with what I'm saying here is that when you are creating your God, you can pour your love into that, right? And that's like pouring it into a well that will never go dry. When you pour it in other people, people can be temperament, they can change their emotions quickly. One day they can be happy and you feel like your love is being returned. And another day you might just be draining your love into somebody that's miserable, doesn't know how to communicate very well, isn't good at expression or emotional intelligence, doesn't know how to manage their own energies, and they start stealing yours. So when you start to give your love out in the world to other things, other places, you don't retain it. You're giving your energy away. You're giving your love away. Okay, so one of the ways that I found to do that is by putting it into something, right, that doesn't change technically, right? Because it's your idea, your thought, your mental, spiritual, metaphysical compartment that you are putting your energy into, you are praying to, you are being faithful towards, that kind of thing. So you hear what I'm saying? You now have a place to put your invisible energy into. You have a place to love something that isn't here, that doesn't change, okay? Even you for a while. You probably need to shape yourself, keep your own boundaries and energies, learn how to love better, love yourself, love others. Preserve yourself, preserve your energy, preserve your time. So you should find a way to love yourself. And I think that that's part of the spiritual pathway. Naturally, it is all about self-love and so many other things. I mean, self-love is just one piece of what spirituality should give to you or help you with. And you could find those in many other different ways. You can find that in philosophies and psychologies, and find it in whatever works for you. You know what I mean? But spirituality is definitely one place you can find that, for sure. So that's what I'm trying to say. I think you catch what I'm saying here. It's a place to put your love. And it's a place that won't change either. You can continually put your love there. And it's only going to return that love back out to you. That's the best way I could say it. And there's probably a whole philosophy or something behind that too. But I'm just saying that this is what I have found, that you need to find the right place to put it, that it can be returned. And that way it'll keep your own energy and your own love up. And while you're learning to become yourself, while you're learning to self-love, while you're learning the lessons you need to do. Do you know what I mean? If you put it all into you, sometimes you've got some stuff you got to work through, right? Sometimes you've got some, maybe you don't have full capacity yet to fully love, right? Maybe you got some ugly stuff on the inside, some traumas you've been pushing down, some experiences or intrusive thoughts. You catch my drift here. Maybe you don't have the full container that you'd like to have on the inside to fully hold your own love completely. And you need to work on that. Okay? That's up to you to do. That's the inner work they talk about. That's the shadow work that they talk about. I think that's the more modern way of talking about that. Okay. I think you get what I'm saying here. I hope so. Let's move on. Spiritualism for the layman and spiritualism for the one who wants to find their true highest self. And I have in parentheses here. One wants to understand and believe God. Another will walk a path of refinement and suffering. Both look a little different. And I think I've talked about this in one before that. So I won't elaborate on that too much. Maybe I'll even send that in the link. But I'll talk about it a little bit here, since I've already talked about it. What I'm saying there is this. I think that there are two different core spiritual pathways. I think that there is one for somebody who just wants to be a simple man, right? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I've known a lot of great simple men that are just absolutely necessary. Women too, simple women, whatever. Just simple souls that just want to get through life. Want to share their happiness, their experience, no matter where they are, wherever they're working. It doesn't matter. They're not there for the money. They don't care about that stuff. They just want to help others. And they want to find God. And it's that simple. They're not trying to be better than anybody else. They know who they are already. And that's what I'm talking about. There is, I think, largely one pathway for people like that. And then I think that there's a whole nother pathway for people that are chasing excellence. There are people that want to become the highest version of themselves. They really want to maybe help out on a grander scale. They want to be more passionate. They want to light people's flames. They want to guide people, be leaders, etc., etc. You hear what I'm saying? I think that there's just two different types of pathways. And I think that it's good for you to figure out which one you want to be on. And I think that that takes some time. You may be already on one now, and maybe the other one might be more appealing to you. So keep that in mind. You want to kind of think about that and figure out where you belong. And you're welcome at any point. You might be all the way up on that simple pathway, and you might start to say, hey, man, I've got a lot of passion and drive. I think maybe I want to be over here. You're free to do that. Don't think that you're locked into one pathway or anything like that. But I definitely talked about that in a previous one. So let me move on from that. Now, this next one, this is a list of things that I have found were the hardest tests that I've ever had, the hardest obstacles, and the ones that keep spiraling and leveling up on themselves. Now, I think that this is a list I plan on keep expanding on, but this is a pretty solid list to start with. Maybe some that you want to pause the video after I'm finished and think about for yourself, or jot down, or, these are the invisible controls in my life that I've had a hard time learning about and figuring out and seeing clearly. So really what I'm doing here is giving you the language so that you can go look into these. Okay, and I share examples of this all throughout the channel. I give you ways that you can see this in real time in ways that make sense. But right now I'm just going to list these. So these are the hardest lessons I ever had, I've ever had. Learning to trust others. learning to forgive myself, learning to surrender to control, learning to love unconditionally, learning to love myself, learning to forgive others, learning not to run from my fears or problems, learning when to walk away or form boundaries, learning to not blame others for my problems or the reactions or emotions that I have subsequently, learning that life isn't a competition. And I've played competitive sports, high-level sports. I know this mentality. And I'm an overachiever in the classroom too. So trust me, when I know what competition feels like, looks like, learning that we're kind of all on the same team out here rather than making it into a competition. I think that that's a huge one. And I've talked about that on the channel, but yeah, these are definitely the hardest ones. And I can tell after I read this, I know I'm missing one or two bigger tests or lessons that have challenged me big time, but I know that I would have covered that in the channel at some point. So good time to maybe pause this video and think about a couple of those. Those I've reflected on for many years, and they've helped me become the best version of myself and to be a better person every day and to work on those. Remember, guys, this is work. I know it is, but thankfully, I've done the work. So it's easy for me to pass this on to you and save you time. Point at where you need to look for yourself. Point at some of the things that were really hard, that are going to be hard for anybody. Not just me, not just you, anybody. I found this to be true in all the books that I've read, all the people that I've talked to, all the years of inner work and, seeking this stuff out, seeking the hard stuff. Okay. Okay, let's wrap this up. I see we're right at that time.
All right, guys, let's just do a quick recap here. We covered quite a few different topics, so let me just go through the list here, what we kind of covered. So we talked about knowing when to ask for help. We talked about challenges, tests, and obstacles in the leveling spiral, not wishing for a different reality, people pleasing for too long, money as a byproduct, not the goal. It's not your bad deeds, it's your ability to learn from them. God as a container for your love, simple and complex man's path to God, and the hardest test I've ever had.
Thanks for being here, guys. I hope that this has brought some value into you guys. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this message with other people that you think might need it. And definitely be active in the comments. I try to respond as much as I can, but I've got a lot of work going behind the scenes that I'm constantly keeping up with. So I will be there, but I would appreciate it if the community did its own job. The community and audience I'm building here, self-regulation is a big thing. Please monitor the comments, help me out, help me be able to focus on the work here, and make people feel safe in the comments, make them feel like they're not being judged, and help them if you can, if you have answers. Or if, they're sharing something and they need help. So thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for sticking around this time, for this long. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you guys there.